everyone, my name is Grace and welcome to this episode of Gracie, the Kenyan Diaspora and Returnee. I'm so glad to host Karanja today. Karanja is Mukami's dad. We hosted Mukami in episode 12 and 13 when she shared her diaspora story when she lived in Canada for 23 years and then what it's been like since she returned home about 9 years ago. Today, I'd like to just hear Karanja's story on his life in the diaspora and returning back home. Welcome, Karanja. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
You are welcome. Thanks for being on this show. I spoke with Mukami, and she's my dear friend, so I know a lot of what it was like for her in the diaspora, but I thought it would also be good to bring a parent on to hear his side, because there's so many diaspora Kenyans or even Africans in general who go to the diaspora with family. And it's just good to hear what it's like. So why don't you go in and tell us what it was like for you? At what age were you and all that?
I was 40 years old.
Okay.
I had been a teacher in Kenya.
Okay.
I had been an administrator at the University of Nairobi. And I found myself on the way to Canada.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. What was that like?
It was okay.
Yes.
But I did not, I went because of some political reasons. So I wasn't voluntarily going there.
Yes.
I'm not like the people who try to go abroad.
Yes, yes. You were not trying to win a green card or citizenship on the other side. Okay. Do you remember what month of the year it was?
It was April.
April. So at least it wasn't the beginning of winter or dead set in the middle of winter. It was getting warmer, I hope.
It was spring.
Spring,
but
yes.
I thought it was winter.
Yes, it felt like winter coming from Africa.
Yes.
Okay, where did you move to? What city?
I moved to a city called London, Ontario.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and you went with family?
I didn't go with family.
Yes.
I went alone.
Yes.
And after some time, I think 6 months, my family joined me.
Okay. All right. What was it like the initial 6 months?
The initial 6 months were very tough.
Yeah.
Because you go to a country. London, Ontario was a very, very white place. And there were not many Africans there. And the first African I met was a Rwandese man. And I met him 3 months after having arrived there.
Oh, yeah.
That was the first African, just white people.
Yes. Yeah, that's got to be tough.
And I do remember that during that time when I hadn't met somebody from Africa, we were living in a place called Huron Heights. And I was in the middle of the city of London waiting for the Huron Heights bus. And a drunk woman, an older woman, looked at me and asked me, even the likes of you are going to Huron Heights?
Oh, gosh.
And I was astounded. I didn't say anything. I just waited for the bus and got into it. And I thought, she's a common drunkard.
But to be honest, it's hard because even had she not been a drunkard, I know there are parts of the US where I lived where you can visit and sometimes an older person will see a black man coming to wait for the bus or just walking past them and you see them holding the pass a little tighter. So did you experience any of that?
Absolutely. It's something you experience all the time because in a country like Canada or the US, there are many white people who have never met and talked to a black person and who rely on stereotypes of books written in the 40s and 50s.
Yes, yes. And they've never left that community of theirs, so they've not interacted with even their own blacks from their country.
Those are the ones who think we live on trees.
Yes, that's it. Oh, that's got to be tough. And then you went ahead of the family and you're experiencing this and you know your family is coming.
Yes.
As the protector of the house, what was that like?
It was quite tough because number one, there was no, just before I arrived in Canada, it was common for the family of refugees to come either together with the refugee or immediately. But they changed the rules so that you had to arrive in Canada and then now fill forms for your people to come.
So the sponsor
it started taking a long time. But it didn't take a very, very long time because while in Tanzania, there was a man who was interviewing us to go to Canada. And I talked to him, I asked for his phone, and he gave me his phone. And I gave my wife the phone, and she called him. And so she was the first one to know that I was going to Canada. And when I got to Canada, I called him, thanking him, and he made my family come very fast.
Okay.
It was very nice.
That's very good. I can imagine being reunited was something very good for you to feel, right? And to finally see them even.
I do remember the time that I went to the London airport to meet them. Even Mukami could not recognize me.
Oh, how long had you been separate?
1 year.
Oh gosh, that is long. Yes.
For a child,
it's a long
time.
Yes.
But I was not surprised.
But
there were no cell phones.
Yes.
So you couldn't be talking to them.
Yes.
In any case, under the circumstances I left, the conversations about me were
muted. True, of course, so that they don't accidentally mention it to someone else or anything like that. That's true.
But as soon as they got home, I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and I had gone to some shops and bought toys and toys. And when they saw their bedroom full of toys, they were so happy. They started showing their happiness of arriving in Canada.
Wow, but you've just said something. So it was you, your wife, and 4 children in a 2-bedroom apartment. Tell me about that.
Well, I was living in the same apartment with a roommate. And so when I heard that my family was coming, there was no problem. Because in Kenya, we do share space.
It's true, we do actually. Now it's when it sounds like too tight, but you're right, we do share space.
There was no problem. In Kenya, we had a 4-bedroom house.
Yes.
But in there, everybody knew we are transitioning into a new country.
Yes.
And there will be hardship.
Yes, yes. And in Kenya, you were a teacher and an administrator. So what was your first job in Canada?
My first job in Canada was dishwashing.
Oh, I also was a dishwasher at a university. Where were you dishwashing?
I also dishwashed at the University of Western Ontario.
Did you really?
Yes, and I also did dishwashing in the middle of the city of London. There was a time I was doing this 2 dishwashing jobs at the same time.
What was the
hourly? One at night, one during the day. And it was 8 hours here and 8 hours here. The salary was $4.25. So it wasn't much money.
Right.
And I was just thinking, when my family comes, I need to have some money.
Yes.
So I just pushed myself and worked 2 jobs.
Wow. And 16 years, even though you were 40 years old, 16 hours, we were not used to that back home.
I was not used to that. I was doing an easy job in Kenya, but I was not in Kenya, and I knew that.
Yes. One thing we talked about with Mukami when I was interviewing her was just the importance of changing your mindset, because you're not at home. And the same thing even when you return. So for you, you knew you had to feed and provide for your family. So there just had to be that.
But it was very tough.
Of course, and very humbling.
I never let my children know that I was washing dishes.
Oh, did you know?
Never. But one time, I was talking to the mother. And I told her how I arrived, I put on the apron. And Mukami asked me, what kind of a job are you doing with an apron?
Trust Mukami is so inquisitive.
And I didn't know what to say.
Yes.
I just mumbled. I didn't know what to say because for me, it was a big humiliation. But I also knew the number of people who, there's like 35 people I went to Tanzania. I came from Tanzania.
Yeah.
To Canada with.
Yes.
And we all found ourselves there. And we agreed that whatever job you find, do it. But do not let the job define you.
Yes. Yeah, that is big. And also because here we really emphasize education and career jobs. So on the other side, not only did you go willingly, it's not like you had planned to go, and now you're doing this dishwashing job that here many people who do it maybe even didn't finish primary school. So I can imagine that was not easy for you. Yeah. And on the family side then, how are you paying rent? Was it sustaining, or did the mom had to also start working?
It was not bad for a long time.
Okay.
Because what happened is that because I was doing this dishwashing at the university, I started moving around the university because I already had a master's degree, looking for a job.
Okay.
And because I was doing a job of an administrator in the University of Nairobi, I found vacancies. But they wouldn't give me any of the jobs.
Yeah.
So once I got the idea that I want to get a decent job, just like that, and once I got the idea that they actually do, once you have the Canadian education, you'll be fine.
Yes.
I went around the university and I asked him, what are you teaching? Can I do another master's degree? And if I did a master's degree, would I get a job? What kind of a job would I get? How much pay would I get? And I got to this place where there was a black girl. And I looked at her and I saw she was an African.
Oh.
So I talked to her, and she was Ugandan.
Oh.
And I told her, I just poured the whole story of my life.
Yes. Yes.
I have found a sister.
Yes, you have.
And she is the one who told me, do the course which is being given in this department, in this school. And I said, what is it? And he said, it is a master's degree of librarianship.
Oh.
And I said, would I get a job? And because I had, a teaching career.
Yes.
And when I came here, I was told you have to go back to school. And even if you go back to school, there will be no job. So will there be a job? And she said, there will be a job. And I said, where are the forms?
Yes.
And I filled the forms.
Sign me up.
And, everything was fine. And the dean came, and the dean looked at them, and he said, they are fine.
Yeah.
I can be admitted, except that I had to do TOEFL.
I remember TOEFL.
And I went in her office and told her, if I did TOEFL when I was in grade 10, I would pass it.
Right.
So I have a degree, I have a master's degree, and you're asking me to do TOEFL. I'm talking to you. I told her, speak the most difficult English to me and see whether I understand. And she said, okay, I'll talk to the boss. The next day she called me and said, the boss said, you're in.
Big up that.
And that course you did 4 semesters.
Yeah.
And you did 1 semester, they send you to a library to work. And when you went to the library to work, you got $16 an hour. Remember the dishwashing was $4.25.
Yes.
So that was a big thing.
Yes.
And this happened fast. So my children started living a little bit better life while I started getting this money.
Yes.
Because it was a lot of money.
Yes. $16.
$16 in those days was a lot of money.
Yes.
And although I did 1 term, then came back and studied, the savings were still there.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to term 3, the library I went to hired me. And the only reason they hired me is because I understood computers. When we went there, we were 3. Me and 2 white guys. And they asked us, which one of you knows computers? And I said, I do. And these ones didn't say anything. At the end of the term, they called me and said, do you want a job? And I thought, oh, they're employing everyone.
Right.
Then he told me they hadn't been offered. So I asked somebody what happened here.
Yeah.
And this guy, Yuri, told me, when you came here, They ask you whether you understand computers. You say yes. They give you a job to do in the computer and got somebody from another library to see whether you did it.
Yeah.
And what you don't know is that this guy said you know more computer than him.
Look at this African man in Canada.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And the only reason I understood computers is I found a Nigerian who was doing a PhD in mathematics who told me white people don't know anything. The only thing they have advantage of us is computers. Go buy a computer, keep it in your house, I'll teach you how to use it, and you'll be better than the white people.
Yes.
And I did exactly that.
Yes.
On the computer.
Yeah.
And we were highly computerized in my family.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. And all this was still happening in the same city with the family, or you had to move away?
No, we had to move away once I got a job in Toronto.
Okay.
Then we had to move away.
Yes.
And we, we stayed in London long enough to save the money to put down on a house in Toronto.
Yeah.
Which then was 25,000. And we saved 25,000.
Yeah.
I was still the only one who was working.
Yes. What was that like?
The only problem I had is that the distance between Toronto and London, Ontario is equivalent to the distance between Nairobi and Nakuru. Here I am working in Nairobi and living in Nakuru. And remember in winter, the thing that takes 2 hours, will take 5.
Right.
So sometimes Mukami's mom was calling me and saying, don't try to come.
Yes.
The snow is just too much.
Yes.
But you see, I was still studying.
Yeah.
So I needed to go and get the assignment and do it.
Yes.
So I have to come, and it takes 5 hours. I come, I go to the university, I collect my things. Then in the morning I go back.
Yeah.
It was very tough.
It was, I can imagine. Mukami mentioned that in one of our episodes, how, you worked in one place, the family was somewhere else. And I can only imagine, because what we see on TV is not even always the case. I can't imagine months of winter and you having to drive slowly, sometimes even maybe finding accidents on the road, and that just, creates jitters. So what a sacrifice you made.
Well, survival is not easy.
It's not easy. Yeah. And then what was it like raising girls?
Raising girls.
Yes.
Now,
in the diaspora.
the whole idea of your children coming from Kenya and finding you in Canada is quite tough. Canadians are they have a different culture. They don't beat children. And the only way we control children in Kenya is spanking them.
Yes.
And then you go into a country where that is illegal.
Yes, and they will call the police on you.
They'll call the police on you.
Social services.
And you have to conform with all this.
Yes.
And the other thing is, when my wife started doing her training for things she was training for, and me, I'm going to Toronto. Now, the looking after children was the job of Mukami.
Yes.
Young as she was the one we used to live with the children. I have always felt guilty for that episode in our lives when we made her do all that, have that very heavy responsibility. And sometimes I would come from, after some time, my wife started studying for her master's in law in the University of Toronto. She used to leave the house at 6 and come at 11.
Wow.
So now I am going to school.
Yes.
And yet I have to come from the school, collect the two twins who are in daycare, bring them home to Mukami, make dinner, then go back to school and do my assignments, and then come back and make sure they are asleep. And then at 11 o'clock, my wife would come and she would find her made dinner.
Yeah.
That was tough.
That is
because
tough.
I have 4 children. I have a job. I have school.
You even yourself, you know, there's Karanja the married man, there's Karanja the father.
No, you see.
Yeah. That is
that
tough.
is the time when the best of you comes out.
It's true.
That you can do all those things.
Yeah. And you know, now those are the things that when you've lived in Kenya, you don't think about that are the challenges that diaspora face, because here, even being picked out of from school, you can send a driver, you can send a nanny. There, certain people have to check out the kids from school. And in this case, you cannot say Mukami the minor will check out the younger sisters from school. So you have to maneuver this.
I used to get out in the middle of a lecture.
Yes. Yeah, because time is also the essence.
And go and get them, take them where they ought to be. And I remember there was a woman who told me once that, you know, I took this course because you took it. Because in the other course you are taken, you are saying very, very smart things. And I wanted to listen to you saying that in this course. But in this course, you were completely quiet. Yeah. And I didn't tell her that I'm going through a lot of...
Oh gosh, that is hard.
And so it was very, very tough. And the other thing is that now you have to take this you know, the children to school. Yeah. You know, there were some good things. You see, when I took my children to school, I had to come from Kenya. We pay fees, we pay money for books, we pay a lot of money. So when I took Mukami and her sisters to school, I had money in my pocket and ready. Yes. So when I went there, this woman told me, take them to the classes. Yeah. And once you take them to the class, make sure you know the name of the teacher. And I did that. So Mukami was very cheerful. I took Miriam. Miriam started crying. Oh gosh. And you have to go to work. I had to leave. Yeah. But then I went back to the office. When I went back to the office, I sat and just stared at the woman. So that she can tell me how much I owe. Right, you're waiting to pay. And then she asked me, did you take the children? Did you know the names of the teacher? And she said, that's okay. That's good. Have a great day. And then I said, what about books? What about fees? She said, none. I said, none? Yeah. Well, I went home, running home to tell my wife. We have money in our pocket. Yes. It was a shock. That you can take 2 children to a school and there is no money you are paying. And they are coming home with books. They are being taught. That was something very, very different. But it was a good story. I always remember it as a very, very good story. And you know, that's such a positive thing. One of the positive things about sending your children to the diaspora, moving with them to the diaspora, is the education system is better, or at least it creates better opportunities for them. But then also that education is free. I remember Mukami also mentioned that they didn't have school uniform. So you didn't have to worry about school uniform either. So that's a very good thing. And I know that it also then means that parents stay there longer. Even if you would have been ready to come back home, you want your kids to finish school there. Yes. Because of that benefit. It's a big benefit. There was another family which came to Canada, and I think they had 4 children, and they only brought 2 because they were afraid of school fees. Oh. And when I told Mr. Kalabi that the school is free, the children who are left here who are brought there in a week. Quick, go to school. Yes. That is so good. Yeah, it is a good thing. Yeah. And you managed, how long did you end up staying in Canada before deciding to move back home? I stayed in Canada for, is it 27 years? Okay. Something like that. Yes. A long time. Yeah. Did you always know that you'd want to retire here, or it also just happened by chance? Absolutely. Yes. I always knew that I was going to retire here. Yeah. One of the reasons is that I am the only son of my father, and we are only 2 in my family. Oh, that's a small family. Me and my sister. Yes. And my sister is married and has the land of her own.
Yes.
And the little piece of land that my father used to have is mine now.
Yeah.
And I have to take care of it.
Yeah, you do.
And then there is a grave of my father and my mother.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is my responsibility.
Yes.
Even in Kikuyu law,
culture,
to look after the graves of my ancestors.
Yes. So did you used to come home?
I used to come home.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to come home to see my parents.
Yeah.
They, died. My mother first, my father 1 year after.
Yeah.
And so after that, I stayed in Canada for some time. I always felt that I need to be back home.
Yeah.
And then there are many circumstances.
Right. That before you come home. So
yes.
Tell us about that. Did you prepare? Did you know like next year I'll come home, or what was the journey like returning back home?
The preparation was just monetary.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
It was just monetary journey. Just make sure I have a pension.
Yes.
I have some money. I can savings.
Yes.
Then if I come here, I can,
Yeah. Okay. I am in banking and I'm in diaspora banking. So we usually support diaspora when they're investing back home, whether it's buying a plot, building, whatever it is. For you, as you have said that for you, the thought was monetary. Do I have enough? Did you borrow to invest before you came home? What was that journey like? Tell us for the benefit of someone who is probably thinking of retiring back home.
I think the money I saved, the money I saved, because in preparation for my retirement, I bought this house.
Nice.
And so I knew if I go to Kenya, people from diaspora are obsessed with security.
Yes.
And so when they think of coming back here, they think of gated communities.
Yes. Yes.
And I was the same, but once I came back here,
I
was living here with Mukami. Mukami came back before me.
Yes, she did.
And I was living here, and every morning I was going to Githunguri.
Yeah.
And every evening I was coming back in the dark from Githunguri.
Oh.
And then I just decided, I think I better just live in Githunguri.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And you've bought a good house, because as I was driving in, what I've liked is the townhouse feel. So, and actually that's what many diaspora think of, because apartments is what we did when we were settling and we were in college and starting off. But then a standalone home is what many diaspora would want to retire into.
Yes.
So it's good to know that there are also those options here. Yeah. Okay. How old were you when you returned?
When I returned, I was I think I was 69.
69. Okay. What was that like after being away for 27 years, adjusting? Did you have friends that you knew? What's it like settling back home after being away that long?
I think I have kept my childhood friends.
Oh, good. Yes.
Most of them, and most of the other friends I got, the people I got. I went to Kenyatta College, and I did S1. S1 was a teaching certificate.
Okay.
Then I did a B.Ed, and then I went to University of Nairobi and did a master's. But the Kenyatta College people were, even today, they form the basis of my friends.
Yeah.
And we even have a group of old men who meet once a month and eat fish.
Oh, look at that, fish.
On Kiamburu.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know one thing I admire about you? And I hope Mukami won't kill me for saying this, but I admire your returnee life, because usually she'll tell me, oh, my dad is, I don't know where, my dad is where, and I'm thinking, but at that age, usually parents have just sat in the house drinking tea, waiting for dinner, drinking tea. So I like that you have a vibrant retirement and a vibrant returnee life, because it can also be hard settling back home after you've been gone. Do people appreciate you as you are? Because you've changed also, right? Most of your adulthood you could have adopted other cultures. So yeah, that's very good. As we wrap up, I do have a question for you. what advice would you give a 40-year-old man who wants to move to the diaspora with his family, even though it's voluntarily?
Well, they have to they have to decide what kind of life they want to have in Kenya. And while in diaspora, make sure you have the money to fuel that life.
Yes. Yeah. Prepare for it even that early.
Do not, you could just leave and come here, and if you are young and find a job or find something to do. But if you come here when you are in your 60s, make sure that you have the money you need to live here.
Yes.
And it would help if you had already assets in this country.
Yes, before coming.
Yes.
And what advice would you give a 68-year-old man that wants to retire back home? He's been gone and he's wondering if he'll survive, what the security is like, and even just will he fit in?
I think life is very flexible. You will fit in. There's no doubt about that. I came here as an old man. I started giving, these Kikuyus, they have elder system. I started giving goats. And now I am Mzuri. And it's something I enjoy. So it is very easy to be. You see, it's not easy for someone who is 68 to become really Americanized or Europeanized. At the core, you are a Kikuyu, you are a Luo, you are what? And even if you live there for how many years?
And what advice would you give a 40-year-old man who is going abroad with children, and let's say North America? What is it that they may not think of, and what advice would you give them?
I think anyone who is going to North America has to know that he's leaving his culture and going to live in a different culture. He has to figure out what in his culture is dear to him and which is acceptable to his children, which they can keep. That, I think, lives in the realm of food. There is no argument about food. That one, they can eat Kenyan food. But there are many aspects of the Kenyan life and Kenyan culture which are not acceptable in abroad. One is the method of raising children, using corporal punishment, punishing them. Some parents, worrying their children. A lot of those things in North America are actually outlawed. You could lose your children for spanking them. And this terrifies Kenyans. And it's a dilemma because you do not know. The Canadian culture has not taught you how to bring up children the Canadian way. Or the American way, and yet they have told you to throw away the only set of skills which you had, and it's a difficult thing. So what happens is that there is the children. You relax a little. They go ahead and become Canadians or Americans, and something is lost in there. Because you are not giving them the negotiation skills Canadian and American children are given by their parents. Because you see, North Americans talk to their children like they're adults. They reason with them right from a very young age. And so they're used to this negotiation. So everything is negotiated. Everybody has an opinion. If you have an opinion, bring it on the table. With Africans, the children have no opinion. They do what you want them to do. And there is a big problem in North America about African young people. because they go there and become some kind of outlaw. They use the freedom.
Yeah.
Rather, they misuse the freedom.
Yes.
They have not been taught to respect that freedom. You see, the Americans fought for their freedom. And they teach their children, they fought for that freedom. It's a precious thing they want to keep. And that freedom is opposite of chaos. It's not a road to chaos.
Yes.
Our children, most of the time, see this freedom as the defiant of the parent. And when they defy their parent, in front of them is not a set of skills.
Yes.
They don't have that set of skills.
Yes.
They don't have the upbringing which the North American kids have. And so they sort of get lost. They are not motivated. You see, children in Kenya are very motivated to study.
Yes, yes.
When you go there and you find that nobody's pushing you, and there are no external exams, you are sort of lost.
It's true.
And when you realize that if you failed a test, you could just repeat. They relax.
You do it, yeah.
On the other hand, the rest of them who are in class, they seem to be disciplined and they are going forward. Then remember that they are in a racist society.
Yes.
Every little bad thing they do is amplified.
Yes.
And it is now put, see these people from Africa, they come with no culture, they come with no what.
Right.
But it's because we left our culture and we are unable to ascribe to the new culture. And there's a no man's land there.
Yes.
And that's where we put our children. And, well, as a librarian, I used to see a lot of kids who are African come to the library. They will not come to study. They would come to romp around, make noise.
Really? What?
And the white people just look at them.
Yeah. With no respect of the library.
No respect of the library.
Yes.
And they'll just say, oh, look at these black people. This is the nature of black people. But that's not the nature of black people.
Right.
This is the situation of children who are not properly brought up, whether they are Africans or whoever it is. And that is a big problem because, I lived in an apartment block where there were lots of Somalis. And Somalis are bound by their religion. And they are normally very disciplined.
Yes.
But the young men who are Somalis, they started taking pot, selling drugs, running guns.
Yes.
And they basically spoiled the whole idea of the Somali. And every time someone is arrested, he's a Somali, he's an African. And it's a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah.
I think that is something which, personally, I would want a group of scholars to research that process, tell us what is wrong, and tell us what we should do in order to redeem the generations of children going to North America or going to Europe, and see how we can make sure that they grow up respectful and disciplined.
Yeah. You've said a lot of important things there that I just want to emphasize. For you, you went there as a Kenyan. By the time you're 40, you're grounded. And the way you learn how to parent is also how you are parented. So, you couldn't look at your parents straight in the eye when they're giving you a lecture. Seems rude. If they beat you and tell you go to bed without food, you don't challenge. You literally go to bed. Yes, I remember even for us, we would be beaten and you're sent to bed, and that's the day chapati was cooked. And yes, and you just do it. So now imagine you as a parent, you go on the other side, your kids are young, and they're challenging that parenting style, but it's all you know. So you're also conflicted because you see this other way of raising children, which is you will have dialogue with them. If it's Mukami, you will sit her down. You will say, Mukami, I told you do this and that. You didn't do it. I am now going to punish you. I will take your computer from you. I'll take your phone from you. Do you understand? And she may have an opportunity to say, but dad, this and that. But there's that dialogue, which interestingly, now when I went to do my master's, you've helped me realize why also they were confident in a lecture room. So when the professor asks a question, they're ready to answer it because they learned it even from childhood. It wasn't just the public speaking classes they took. And then when they're presenting or talking to an elder or even anyone, they maintain eye contact. For me, it's something I had to consciously learn how to do. Because when you don't maintain eye contact on the other side, it's now a sign of, are you hiding something? Is it dishonesty? So you find yourself so conflicted along the way. And for the children who are being raised there, they're conflicted. What they're being taught at home is not how they're seeing the other children being raised. And the freedom of, remember how you said you were busy and mom was busy. So the kids have this freedom that they may not even have known how to use.
They're
even
basically unparented.
They're unparented, that's it. So when they go out there, you cannot compare them apples to apples with another kid, North American kid raised that way, because the North American kid knows how to behave based on how they were raised. So that's very interesting. I also like how you finished off by saying it would be good if scholars taught. And I think many times when diaspora go abroad, there are usually offices they can go and be taught how to look for a job, what skills to improve on, how to take the bus from here to there. It would be good if there's actually a program on how to raise your children in the diaspora when you yourself were not raised that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it does change the perception. You know, even the example you've given of Somalis, already people think all of them are Al Qaeda just by profiling. Now imagine when that one kid misbehaves, the stereotype is look at them, all of them. And it's not always, they don't represent everyone, but that's what people see. Yeah, so thank you so much. It was nice having you here. And I hope to have you on for another episode in the future. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. Have a great day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are.